Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy. He is 32 years old, and he's sharing the story about his very, very soon-to-be ex-wife, and how he met her, and all the things that he did, mistakes he made, and all that, and how he's very soon kicking her to the curb. And despite how much he's trying to keep him from doing that, you're going to see he's handling the situation like the boss. But you're also going to see, guys, that this guy grew up in a very tough situation, the wrong side of the tracks, if you will. His father wasn't in the picture. His mother was, for lack of a better term, the village bicycle. Terrible mother. And obviously because of not having parents around and a lot of turmoil in the family, got in a lot of trouble as a kid, was in juvenile hall and all that. And so there were a lot of problems early on, but the guy really, in many fronts, got his life together. Problem is, he got together with the wrong girl. A girl, interestingly enough, a lot like his mother. Fortunately, you're going to see that in spite of mistakes that he makes, and he shares his story to help guys out, he's a tough dude, and he's handling it well in the end, and now things are definitely looking better for him in his situation. Let me go into share, guys, once again, to give examples of what not to do, and how you can, in spite of your beginnings, get your life in the right track, or if you make a lot of mistakes, you can learn from them and move on. A lot of guys think they make one big mistake in life, and life is over. No, we all make mistakes, but you can turn things around and continue on and have a good life. That'll be an entertaining one here. And by the way, this guy, growing up, getting in a lot of trouble, and spending time in juvie, definitely made him a tough dude. And as a tough dude who got in a lot of trouble as a kid, it's not someone you want to cross. And let me tell you, his way of handling his very soon-to-be ex-wife, when she crosses him, is definitely, you'll see. Starts off, says, hello SSM. I've been watching your content for about a year now. I want to share my story with you in the community. We'll learn from my mistakes. Here's a little bit of my backstory. I grew up in the Midwest. I'm 32 years old right now, to people who didn't deserve to be parents. My father was a drunk who eventually died from a cirrhosis of the liver, and a mother who chose to hang out with her friends because they were more important than me. I'm sorry, man. It's such a shame when kids grow up with these rotten parents, that don't deserve to be parents. It's not your fault who your parents were, but it is your fault if you, as an adult, and seeing how they were, if you live a life just like them. But you're obviously not. My mother cheated on her then boyfriend with my father, and then she got pregnant, so my father married her so she would be covered by his insurance. Their marriage lasted for 4 years, and they divorced because she cheated on him with her ex-boyfriend, the one she cheated on with my dad. She cheated with that guy in our house. My father came home early from work one day. I was in the room at the time and caught them and sent them both to the hospital. My mom got a black eye and a busted lip, while her affair partner got broken ribs, jaw, and both his eyes closed. My father was arrested and took a plea deal of 7 years. After getting out of the hospital, me and my mom moved into her parents' house. It is safe to say that she didn't learn her lesson and continued down her path as a carousel rider until the guys and girls stopped answering her phone calls. She's married to a woman now for the last 8 years. We haven't communicated in 10 years. I get updates from my grandmother about her now. And you know what? I'm sure you don't want to hear anything from your mom. And you know what? There are just people in this world that are just pieces of shit. And it's like, God, why cannot God or nature make them unable to breed? I mean, really. It's, again, not your fault who your parents are, guys, if they're pieces of shit. But what you choose to do with your adult life, that's on you. He says, in my teenage years, I was a mean and angry kid. No father and an absent mother. My grandparents tried, but I was hard-headed and did not listen. I eventually ended up in juvenile detention for a year. While in juvie, I was finally able to sit down and go through all of my emotions and eventually let it go. I learned how to communicate better without taking everything personal, and learned to become a better criminal if needed be. But I came to the conclusion that majority of my criminals are stupid as shit, and there isn't a future in that. So I said, live a regular life, so to speak. So going to juvie was the best thing that ever could happen to you, because it really helped you. There, obviously, you had professionals that were talking to you, and you came to realize either I can go down this path and be like these dumb assholes and end up in prison in life, or I can get my shit together and stop blaming everybody for everything and learn how to communicate better and do all these things and be on the right path. And I'm glad you did. And juvie hardened you for a good reason. He says here, Dirty Diana, my soon-to-be ex, who's also 32 years old right now, was good to me before I found out before the cheating. She was a tomboy in high school. She had the newest sneakers and always had high-end clothing. She played basketball and got a scholarship to a Division II college to where she got her degree in accounting. She has a Coke bottle shape with hips and thighs to match. She always dated older men before me. My ex, before we got together, was a street pharmacist. Her ex, before we got together, was a street pharmacist. You all know what that means. And he introduced her to a flashy lifestyle, so it gave her an ego. By the way, he was 21 when she was 16. Gee, that's illegal. She lied about her age, and he didn't stop seeing after learning the truth. After she found out about the other girls, Diana broke up with him after 4 years. She vowed to never date those types again because of the bad experience, while it sent her into depression for at least a year. So this guy's now wife was the girl that dated the bad boys. He was a street pharmacist, if you will. And she was with the bad boys, so she swore she'd never date those types again. Well, here's what happens. A lot of gals, they'll date the bad boys, and they love the butterflies and the excitement and the danger and the thrills, depending on the degree of bad boy / criminal. But eventually they realize there's no future for them, so they find a nice guy or a nicer guy to settle with, but they always have that itch for that bad boy loving. And once a cheater is a cheater, and you'll see how this goes down. I met my future ex in high school. We only knew each other because we weren't in the same circles. We saw each other again at 21 years old at a bar. She came in with some friends and recognized me. She wasn't a tomboy anymore, and she dressed more girly. We got to talking, and we talked the entire night just about life and how she knew the story about her ex. She asked for my number, and she called me the next day. At that point, I believed I was her rebound, or she wanted to have sex. We went on a couple dates, and we became official at 3 months of dating. So she was heavily pursuing you. You were, obviously, your description of yourself, you weren't some typical nice guy, but you were obviously better than the street thugs. She explained that I wasn't her type, and her type sent her into a depression, so she wanted to try something different, and me being nonchalant, I was like, okay. Yeah, you're like, okay, she's pursuing me. This shouldn't be not a whole lot of work on my part, and I can get laid. No problem. Problem is, these types of gals are used to guys like that. Eventually, they're going to have an itch for them in the future. She was my first ever girlfriend, so I was eager to do so. Even with being the same age, I know our experience was different, which means she knew how to get what she wanted out of me with suggestion or manipulations. What she didn't know is that I dealt with people worse than her, so I knew the mind games as well. I never told her I went to juvie, and she still doesn't know. Shit, I bet you if you told her you went to juvie, she'd probably be more attracted to you at that point. And yeah, you learned, I had a girlfriend back in high school and college. Her mom did foster care. And all girls, teenage girls from definitely tough backgrounds. And it wasn't these girls' faults. And these girls, obviously, teenage girls, had a lot of bad things happen to them, which wasn't their fault. They may not have been very book smart, but let me tell you, these girls were street smart. They had common sense and they had street smarts. They could see bullshit a mile away. And that's what happens when you're in environments like this and obviously being in juvie. That's how you survive. Anyway. After a year of dating, we moved in together. Smack. Dude, I know you're enjoying, this is your first girl and you're enjoying the sex, but there's no reason to rush into moving in. You only move in with a girl unless you're going to get married. But watch this. The reason was that I wanted to get out of my grandparents' house, and at this time, this was my best option, and she needed help with rent. She needed help with rent, huh? How interesting. I had 2 jobs, and she was just fired because of being late repeatedly. At that point, I figured I got played, but I didn't want to go back to my home, so I let it go. So the bills became my sole responsibility. How imagine that? She wants you to move in together, and she just happens to lose her job right after you move in together. Moocher. She took care of all the cleaning while she was unemployed. We had an agreement that once she got a well-paying job, that we would trade off responsibilities as far as she would pay all the bills, while I would get the same money and split the chores 50-50. She better have been doing everything you wanted in the sack during that time period you're paying all the bills, my friend. By her not having to worry about bills, she just focused on school. She eventually graduated from college with a degree in accounting. She eventually got a job. We moved into a house after 2 years, and she paid for everything, and I was able to save. Okay, all right, she redeemed herself there. She did hold up her end of the agreement. Everything was great. We had money, a house, cars, and I was able to get a job as a sales representative with $45,000 a year base pay. And with a commission, I was able to make between 80 to 100 grand a year. Dude, that's awesome. Look where you started in life with your shitty fucking parents and all that in juvie. How many guys that had your beginnings and was in juvie down the road got their shit together and they're making potentially 80 to 100 grand a year? Right? You're a great success story. Shows it can be done, guys. But notice he said in juvie he made that choice. Realized the criminals were stupid as shit and he wasn't going to go down that path. Good for you, man. Your choices with your girlfriend and your soon-to-be ex-wife, not good, but good for you for persevering. You could be a mentor, like the Big Brother programs for the kids that have rough backgrounds. She was making 130 grand a year. We get married 28 years old and everything's still good. Within 2 years of our marriage, everything started to change. She started working later and spending a lot of time on her phone. Red flag. She was very smart and she had a reasonable excuse for everything, and plus we were still having SCX regularly, so there wasn't a cause for concern yet. Well, you always must keep your eyes peeled, gentlemen. Trust but verify. Some of the best things you gain from being an incarcerated are accepting accountability for one's actions, patience because you have nothing but time, and knowing how to spot a liar instantly. The first lie I caught her in was that she was staying late to work. So I drove by her office and I didn't see her car in the parking lot. I didn't say anything when she came in and played it cool. The second lie was that she was hanging out with a girlfriend and she said that they were going out after she left, and I called the girlfriend's husband and asked if he wanted to hang out since his wife and my wife were going out. Eric said that his wife was sick, so he's at home taking care of her, and she didn't know I had his number. There you go. Caught her in the lie. Trust but verify. And he verified, and she was full of shit. So when she came home at 2 o'clock in the morning, February of 2022, I waited up for her and asked for her phone. She tried to gaslight me, so I took her phone anyway, pressed her against the wall, and held the phone to her face. It unlocked and searched the entire, and I found nudes, sexting, and a video of her having SCX without a condom. That sucks, my man. I'm sorry. What'd I tell you about having the itch for the bad boy in the old life? I took screenshots and sent it all to myself. I told her I was leaving her and we were getting a divorce. At this point, the house is in her name and we don't have any kids, so it's a clean break at this point. She was crying and begging me not to go. She said all the lines. It was a mistake. It meant nothing. Please forgive me, etc., etc. All from the Hobag Handbook. I packed my things and went to the hotel. She was serving divorce papers while at work 3 weeks after D-Day. Good for you, man. Don't take any shit. A lot of guys would just listen to her tears and bull crap and all that and stayed with her, and it would have been miserable. He says, since she fought the divorce and wanted to reconcile, I didn't speak to at all. She'd call me and text every day for weeks, and I would just send all the calls to Do Not Disturb. This went on for 8 weeks. She would text, and I told me that she was pregnant with a picture of a positive test. It's like The Godfather Part 3. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. And I'm not going to do an Al Pacino. I can't do Al Pacino, but you get the point. You thought you were out, and then she finds out, and she says she's pregnant with proof. She said she would get a DNA test, and I agreed. We met up, and she tried to talk to me, and I was just ignoring her, and she started to cry and beg some more. We took the test, a blood test, while the baby was in the womb, and after a few weeks, I was told it was mine. By this time, I had already moved into an apartment, and I had furnished it with a 6-month lease. You're out. And then now she's dragging you back in with a freaking baby. And now, because you know this is your baby, because the DNA test, you obviously don't want the baby raised in an environment like you were raised. Isn't that interesting? So with the revelation of her being pregnant, I move into the guest room of her house, 5 months pregnant at this point, to make sure she's taking care of herself. I think she could have taken care of herself without you moving in there. I understand why you did it, but I know how this ends, and I don't think it was a good idea. So I cook and clean and go to hospital appointments, and she has to go to marriage counseling. Offers me to sleep with other women and half of her salary just to stay married to her. Yeah, she really loves you if she's offering that you can go sleep with other women. You see, sex means nothing to her. Love, commitment, non-existent, since she can offer you to other women. Her mother comes over often, and she knows the situation. Diana's mother asked me to forgive her daughter mistakes and try to have a stable relationship for the sake of the child. I just sent her a video of her daughter doing doggy style, and she was embarrassed and started crying. Nice job, my man. And that idiot recorded it on her phone. You can't turn an HOE into a housewife, and that's what she was all along. After 10 months, in November 2022, my baby daughter was born. Well, congratulations on the birth of your little girl, and I hope your little girl does not end up like her mother and your mother. I still stay in the guest bedroom. She took maternity leave for 6 weeks, and I was given leave 3 weeks. We adjust and try to get the baby on schedule. We're both hands-on since this is our first child. In April and May of 2023, she still asked for reconciliation, thinking I've softened my stance on getting a divorce. I'm not going to lie, I have thought about it plenty of times. But I just look at the pictures and see what she did to me, and focus is back. Dude, yeah, if you got to look at those pictures and the video of her hooking up with some other dude, probably some drug dealer, then do that to make sure you don't fall back into, that everything will be different. No, it won't. She'll do the same bullshit again down the road, I guarantee it. You can both raise your daughter separately. You don't need to be with her. We're in mediation, and she's dragging her feet on getting a lawyer so we can deliberate custody only. Everything was separate, bank accounts, credit cards, and all personal assets, and we got a prenup per her request because she realizes that she'll make more money than me in the future, so she wanted to protect herself, and rightfully so. I don't want anything from her except my name back, and she knows this. I gotta wonder if being in mediation is part of, you have to do that in the state that you live in. I'm guessing that. As far as the affair partner, he didn't have a girlfriend, so I had a friend track down his mom and found out that she is a school teacher, and I followed her from her job to a cafe and introduced myself. I showed her the pictures and videos of her son with my wife. Oh, I'm sure that was pleasant. To say she was upset was an understatement. She was cussing me out and called her son to cuss him out as well. Apparently she hates cheaters because her husband cheated on her, so she compared him to his dad. He came to the house ready for a fight, and I was very excited for one, but my ex called the cops before anything can happen. I don't blame you for wanting to whip his ass, because obviously this guy knew you were with her and married to her and was still doing her anyway. I don't blame you, but looking at the big picture, you're about to be divorced from her and moving on. Do you really need that shit? And wind back being arrested and a criminal record again? Think about these things, man. Look at the big picture. You got a daughter now, I even offered to give him my number so we can meet up again, but he didn't take it. Let it go, dude. Look at the big picture. I'll be moving out after my daughter's first birthday because she won't be so dependent on breastfeeding, and I can start giving her formula, and I can limit my contact with Diana. I want Diana to drop off my daughter to her mother's house and pick her up from there, so we don't have to interact at all. But she's already against this idea. She keeps saying, I'm not moving out because you love us and we are a happy family. I'd be like, I love my daughter, and I sure as hell don't love you. I'd be trying for full custody, my man. Seriously. So I just sent her a video of her giving a BJ, and I tell her I'm leaving. Thanks for taking the time to read this. It's been very therapeutic to get this off my chest. Even though I was stoic and cold to Diana, I was crying in the inside. One of the few things I learned from Juvie is never let anyone see you weak. If they see weakness, they will attack. I hated Juvie with a passion, but I don't regret the experience because at the end of the day, we all have time. All we have is time, and it is precious. Hey, freaking men, man, all we do have is time, and it's amazing how fast time goes. And bro, you're 32, you think time's going fast, wait till you're in your mid-40s like me, or a lot of guys watching this are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s, and they're like, oh yeah, that's just wait till you get to be in your 60s or 70s. Time goes fast. Make the most of it. But bro, sorry about that shit in your childhood you went through, but you are doing great. And you picked the wrong girl, fair enough. A lot of guys have done it. And I'm glad that you're realizing you don't have to be married to her. So I wish you the best in co-parenting your daughter, and do the best you can. Everything's going to be okay. Don't go picking fights with that dude. It's not worth it. Think about your daughter now in your life. Big picture. And I wish you well. And I think it's hilarious that you sent that video show that video to her mom, and then this other lady, and then you're sending the video to your soon-to-be ex to make sure you're not getting back together. Don't ever get back with her, no matter how much she cries and pleads and begs and all that. Don't do it. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below and what you think about this. Give this guy a shout out. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.